Welcome to Bicycle Retail Radio, the bicycle industry podcast that brings retailers, vendors, advocates, and thought leaders to the mic for honest discussions about the latest issues facing retailers while taking an in-depth look at the person within the profession.
Registration is officially open, and we want you to join us for the second annual NBDA Retailer Summit, May 22nd and 23rd in Bentonville, Arkansas. Our 2024 program features 2 dynamic days of presentations, panel discussions, and breakout sessions aimed to unite retailers and suppliers in conversation. Tickets include an event gift bag, tailored educational events, networking cocktail event and select meals, early access to the Bentonville Bike Fest, not to mention ample riding time on world-class trails. You won't want to miss it, so don't. Get registered today at nbda.com.
Welcome to the Flex. Today's version is our Retail Design Flex. I have to say, it's one of my favorites. This is our ongoing podcast feature focused specifically on store design, remodeling, and remerchandising, produced in partnership with NBDA Association member Fixture Lab. I'm Heather Mason, NBDA president. I'm joined here by Brian Hawkins. Nice to see you. Happy spring.
It's lovely to see you. It's so nice to have the spring flowers up. If my eyes look itchy, it's because I'm sitting in flowers. But actually, like legitimately, I have like springtime allergies right now. Ugh. But it's great to have it warming up and people getting out on bikes. It's awesome.
You're absolutely glowing, Brian. You look great over there. Listeners, Fixture Lab has been in bike shop design and merchandising for years. They have solutions. They create hard-working solutions for you, bicycle retailers, every day, and it's paying off. The retailers that Brian has worked with have made huge impacts in their store, connecting what they do, that wow experience in their community. And not just bicycle retailers. I know, Brian, you work with cycling, running, fly fishing. Fixture Lab is awesome, awesome, awesome. And Brian is amazingly great in offering NBDA members a special incentive to work with them and just going the extra mile. So Brian, thank you for that.
Well, yeah, I thought it was worth mentioning again. It's on the website, but being an NBDA member benefits you with things like what we're talking about, because we offer between $100 and $500 off for fixture orders and products that we make, depending on the size of the order. And then I also offer a free budget meeting. There's a previous episode of this podcast where we talked about budgeting, and I offer a free meeting where we walk through that with you for your store, which has, that's super, super, super valuable. And we just offer that free to NBDA members. So call us.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the full line of store fixtures. There's some great ways that you can present everyday things like pedals, tires, amazing ways for your customers. So take a look, fixturelab.com. Today's episode's important to me. I just got back from a meeting with a group of our P2 retailers in Holland, Michigan. Part of what we do in the P2 program is we go into stores and we do a tour and review of the store. I was telling Brian, the store was awesome on the outside. It's just super clean, glass, a nice mural on the wall. And then we walked inside and I was like, oh, this is every bike shop in America. And not that that's bad, but I thought there was such an opportunity for the retailer to do so much more to bring in their brand and culture. So Brian, I hope we get into that today, because I can see your face. I think like you're hearing what I'm saying. That's happened to you before.
Yeah, well, we talked briefly about this topic, wall coverings. Like, is that an adequate topic for one of these things? And I think it's perfect, because what you're talking about, that experience of when you walk in the store, is impacted by a lot of decisions that you make in the store, and wall coverings are a huge one that play into that. You're building your brand, you're making a statement, you're telling a story about your brand when someone walks in, and the wall coverings have a big part in that.
Yeah. So this store in Michigan, yeah, the walls were just like they have a certain color in all of their branding, but there was no color in the store. There was no images of riders. The walls were just painted a black. You know, they were painted just white. It was very neutral, and it just didn't connect. So wall coverings is our topic today. And Brian and I are going to get in. We got lots of great tips for retailers when it comes to wall coverings. But wall coverings does not have to be our topic for our next episode. The cool thing about these podcasts is that we'll answer your questions. So you can write to Brian and I at any time with any questions you have on store design, merchandising, fixtures. Send us videos, show us the outside of your store, and then walk in with a video and ask us, hey, what do you think? And if it's cool enough, we're going to answer that on the next podcast.
Doesn't have to be cool.
I know, I always say.
In
But it's
fact, some of
true.
the best ones might not be cool. That's the thing.
But other topics that people could ask us about, Brian, what could people ask?
Well, I've been thinking about it, and some of the questions I've gotten recently are, my dang floor has skid marks all over it. Could that be a ghost? Because no one in the store takes accountability for that. Apparently nobody's making the skid marks. So we don't know. Has there ever been an uglier thing to merchandise than a bib short?
It's so hard.
We feel your pain. Or how about, I'm out of room. What the heck do I do? You know, like any question that you want, send it to us, design@nbda.com. You know, let us know. We'll talk with you beforehand. And if we can use you as an example or feature your question, great. That'd be fantastic.
I love it. Yeah, do it, listeners. Send us stuff. We love to get it. All right. We could go on, but let's do it. When we say wall coverings, that's our topic. We're talking about wall coverings today. I have to say that like a nice coat of paint is pretty cool. But Brian, why do wall coverings even matter?
Well, like I said, with a lot of decisions that you make inside your store, you're telling a story about your brand, and you need to think about what the story is that you're telling people. Wall coverings plays a big part in that. Your brand of your store is kind of like a beard.
Okay. I'm really curious where you're going with this.
If you're a dude, you probably have a beard. I mean, just about, I have problems growing a beard, but if I let it really go, it would really make a statement about me, good or bad, you know? Everybody has a brand, whether it's good or bad. Everybody has the beard, whether it's good or bad. It's up to you how you make that story come off. Like, you can have a well-kept beard. You can make a big statement with a big, huge beard. You can have it short and tight. You can do all kinds of things. You're making a statement with that beard. You're making a statement with your brand, and wall coverings are a vital, vital part. We're going to see lots of pictures here, and you'll see the impact that different kinds of decisions make on a space. So that's why it's important to me.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about like the last time, yeah, I wanted to like refresh or remodel or make something feel good. You know, like paint is an easy way to do that. And I just keep going to paint, and I'm sure there's more wall coverings that you're going to show us. Maybe was it a shop you designed? I think that had like AstroTurf on the wall or something fake, right?
There's a picture of it in here.
All right, see, listeners, I had no idea. So listeners, you keep hearing Brian say, I have lots of images, and that is part of the Retail Design Flex. We like to show you images. So if you're listening in the car, if you're on a run, if you're on a bike ride, go ahead when you get home and head over to YouTube. You can actually see this podcast with all the images, you know, right there on YouTube. So let's dive into it, because I'm sure it's not just paint. Brian, happy wall covering day.
Happy wall covering day, everybody. This is so awesome. So is it okay for me just to dig in?
Yeah, I think we should just dig in.
I love that. All right. Hold on, I gotta click on the right things here. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Oh, there. Okay, in the next 30 minutes, you're going to become an expert on wall coverings because I'm going to show you 1,000 examples and we're going to talk quickly through some very common ones in our business. We're going to talk about pros and cons. We're going to talk about price ranges, which is going to be super helpful. And we're going to talk some installation tips or things you should think about when heading towards a specific type of wall covering. Hopefully this gets the thought process going. Like, it's such a big topic, honestly, because there's so many different things you could do with walls that we can't possibly cover everything. What we're talking about here is just the tip of the iceberg. And as soon as I say all of this stuff, you're going to say, well, you forgot about this kind of thing. And I know that's true, but we've got limited time and we want to get a lot of ideas in here. So I'm talking about the most common solutions, the most effective solutions that we see on a day-to-day basis. How's that? All right. So 4 great questions. Maybe ask yourself as you're thinking about wall covering. Like we just talked about, what is the statement that we need to make with our brand? Think about how a wall covering could play into that statement that you're trying to make. Who am I trying to impact with the wall covering decision? Like, who's my target market? Who's my customer that's walking in? You could definitely make wrong decisions for your customer base depending on the types of wall coverings that you might deploy inside your store. What does the physical store offer me in terms of the material that makes sense? Like, do I have all brick walls? And if I have all brick walls, then thinking about wallpaper is going to be a nightmare, because it's just going to be practically impossible to put into that store. It's a very kind of an example, but there's other things like that. Or if the walls are very textured, then maybe some types of graphics aren't the right thing, or some types of wallpapers aren't the right things. And how does the choice that I make with the wall covering fit into the budget? And the big thing there, one of the big things, I guess, is not only to think about the materials that it takes to get that done, but the installation process. We're going to talk about some things that are inexpensive to buy and expensive to install. So you got to think about all those things, but hopefully this is going to help a bunch.
We are going to be such experts in 30 minutes.
All right. Wall coverings include paint, wood, wallpaper, metal, brick, tile, cork, graphics, murals, fabrics, felts, carpets, pennies, hamburger wrappers, taillights, sod. I mean, if you really look hard, you can find just about anything you want to apply to walls.
I cannot wait for the photos you're going to show us. I know that they're going to be good.
I'm not going to waste much time on showing you pennies and hamburger wrappers. Because like I said, we don't have enough time. But okay, so I'm going to start with paint, and I don't want that to be because there's anything wrong with paint. Paint is fantastic. Like, this is the way we're going to do this. I'm going to show you material. We're going to talk about the pros and cons or installation kinds of tips, things like that, and some cost considerations. And then I'll show you a couple of examples of each one. So paint, obviously, one of the biggest pros is inexpensive, and it's very do-it-yourself if you want to do it yourself. Makes a big impact quickly, and the cost is really low, especially in terms of other things that we're going to look at. Like if you figure out how much paint covers in the store, 7 cents per square foot is a pretty darn good deal. You're going to get that, obviously. You know where to get paint in your area. So I'm not going to go into that, but there are some items in here that we are going to look at, and I'll give you some specific links to places where you can find those wall coverings. So I wanted to just show a couple of examples. We've all seen paint, so I don't need to show you a bunch of samples of paint, but there's a couple of things here that are worth looking at. One is you're painting this space. This orange diagonal pattern in here is definitely part of their brand. And that's really easy to do with simple paint. All they had to do is mask that off, paint 2 different colors, and it's like you've got a huge sign in the store. Another thing that's less obvious, and that's kind of cool, is the subtle difference between a couple of the walls there.
Didn't even notice that.
Yeah, right? It helps to delineate spaces within the space. Sometimes if you paint like say this is the wall by the service area. If you paint that a unique color, maybe not something that doesn't fit your color palette, but a unique color, then you can use that as a directional helper when talking to customers in the front of the store. You could say, head back to the tan colored wall, or head back to the red wall or the orange wall back there. And someone will be right with you. I don't know. You could use it that way. It also just helps visually to make the space feel paid attention to. It makes it feel dimensional, it makes it feel uh, deeper, could make it feel bigger or smaller. So think about those ways to apply paint. This is just a really simple example of really simple paint with a vinyl graphic applied to a cut vinyl graphic, just applied to the face of it behind some shelves. Very inexpensive solution there, but it really plays well. I want to show this. This has a lot to do with that other picture where you have a subtle difference between a couple different colors. I think that the solution that they have going in this store for paint is actually a very appropriate one, even though it's not very exciting. It's kind of a monochromatic look, but that seems to be part of what their brand is about. Like they've pulled that off nicely in here, and things like the light fixtures match the style of the type that's on the wall, which matches the overall color feel of the space. So when I'm talking about paint, I'm not necessarily talking about bright, crazy colors and lots of colors. In fact, most of the time we have to pare down the color selection when we're designing a store paint wise, so that we're not introducing too many different colors, because your products, I mean, you can see it here, your products are very colorful. The more colors you add to your store, potentially, the more confusion the wall covering, if it's paint or whatever, offers. And this is just an example of somebody who's gone the other direction with some bright wall colors. And that can work great as well. This one's a store that we did recently in Houston. I'm showing it. I mean, we went back and forth a lot about what the wall covering needed to be on this wall behind the sign there. And it just turned out that paint with the right finish on it was the right thing to do, because it was very cost effective and it wasn't going to be, in the scheme of things, it wasn't worth spending 20 times as much money to get a small additional impact by using, say, a dark gray or a black wallpaper, which is hard to find, by the way. So, this is a good solution of paint being implemented well. Sorry, what'd you say?
I just think it looks dynamite. I think it looks great, like really sharp.
Oh, I thank you. Okay, now wood. Wood is a very popular solution in bike shops. It's a popular solution just about everywhere in retail. And there's some kinds of wood that are kind of played out now, design-wise, but it doesn't mean that they don't work ever. And I'm going to show you lots of different kinds and different solutions that you can use with your store in lots of different price ranges. Okay, real reclaimed wood. You can find this just about any place in the country where you want to go. You can Google up reclaimed wood, barnwood, something like that, and you're going to find a shop, a store that handles reclaimed wood. And it varies in thickness. It's a very real product. The boards come in all kinds of different widths. Most places will offer to cut them down to a specific width if you want it that way. It's just very authentic. It adds lots of character. It's real. It's got chunks of old paint on it. It's got nails in it. It's got all the beautiful imperfections, that a reclaimed wall would have. So it's a really good solution. Cost of this stuff is usually any of the costs that I give you, you're going to be able to find exceptions for the pricing that I'm giving you, but I'm just kind of trying to talk generally. Generally, this kind of wood costs $5 to $15 a square foot plus some installation. And that can be a challenge with this kind of wood because it's very inconsistent, or it can be very inconsistent. Make sense? How about peel and stick wood? Do you know about this stuff, Heather?
I I yeah, I think so, because I know there's like peel and stick brick, right? But so this is peel and stick wood. The whole wood thing, I don't know. I guess I wanted to ask you. I didn't want to interrupt you before. Is this like a fad or a trend in the last couple years, or like are we seeing more people do this like pallet wood type of thing?
I would, that pallet wood, the very reclaimed kind of look.
Yeah.
Up in a couple years. It's
Okay.
been more years than that. And it is kind of trendy, like it's kind of a hipstery kind of a look. And you see it in coffee shops everywhere, and you see it in cool bike shops, and you see it in cool retailers.
So, but
Um,
on this peel and stick thing, anything that's peel and stick for me, like I think peel and stick flooring, peel and stick wood, peel and stick, I don't even know. It just seems like cheesy if it's done wrong. Like it's almost like it has to be done right. Like
right.
I'll like be like, all right, I'm gonna peel and stick, and then it always comes out looking just like a train wreck. So I don't
I'm
know.
going to show you examples after we get through these different wood types, and you're going to tell me what kind of wood it is.
Oh no.
Because we like to ask you the harder questions. If you're absolutely right. If you do it right, it can be great. And if you do it wrong, and if you have cut corners, if you don't do things right, then it just sends a message that you don't care that much about the space. But this stuff, this peel and stick wood, we use it all the time. It comes in a million different colors, from very reclaimed looking to very polished looking. Um, and you literally, this shows the actual product. You just peel the back off of it and stick it on the wall. The places that make that, or some of the places, are down here. Stickwood is a very popular one that we use a lot. Timber Chick, wall planks, we've used them a lot. You can also get stuff like this on Amazon. And when I say Amazon, I just mean online pretty much, because if you just Google up peel and stick wood, or thin wood for the walls, or whatever you want to, you're going to find stuff. Home Depot has some products like this, but so does Lowe's, so do other home improvement places. So this is a really good solution. It's usually $8 to $13 a square foot, which sounds kind of expensive per square foot. But the big thing with this peel and stick wood is it's so stinking easy to install.
Mm.
You paint the wall a color that kind of resembles that wood, so that if you see through the cracks, it's not distracting. And then you just peel and stick that stuff on there. It's very easy to cut. It's very DIY. So if you want to tackle that project yourself, you can do it. You don't necessarily need contractors to pull that off. Um, so it's it's a very inexpensive solution. Because, like the real wood we were just talking about, sometimes that requires a lot of work, planing and handling the width of the boards, and special supports, because the wood's much heavier. This just sticks to just about any wall. So it's a
Now,
really good solution,
now I kind of want to do it. Now I'm
right?
like, "Hey, let's do it."
I think you should do it. There's other stuff out there too that, like, you can get on, if you could find it on Amazon, and there's a couple links here. We can send out this deck so that you actually have the links to look at. You can get this kind of thing through Home Depot, and these are real wood boards that are dimensional. They don't peel and stick. You have to nail them up or glue them up to a wall. And they're very inexpensive, between like 3 and 7.5 or $8 a square foot, which is great Because it's so inexpensive though, it's sometime, well, all the time on this product, it needs some love. Like the boards are kind of inconsistent. The thickness isn't very consistent. Some are just going to be trash when you get them because they're going to have big gouges out of them or something. So you get what you pay for a little bit there, but you can implement it very effectively. This little picture here is a picture of a store in California that we did with the exact wood that we're talking about, and it came out just great. So it's a very viable solution. How about real wood flooring on a wall? You can. I mean, there's some types of flooring, obviously, that are going to look like you took the floor and stuck it on the wall. But if it's some unique woods, there you can a lot of times you can use wood flooring on the wall, and a lot of times it's inexpensive. Like you can get some great wood flooring on sale, and that could be engineered hardwood floor, like one that's not solid wood or solid oak or whatever the wood is. Or you can get like real full-fledged 3/4 inch thick oak flooring, and you can get some good deals on that kind of stuff. It's super, super durable, obviously, because it's flooring. And if you install it right, it can be a great solution. Like I've done a few stores where we use this product in things like a service area where it's gonna get taxed. It needs to be cleaned. It needs to be, something that if you bump a bike into, it's not gonna dent, it's not gonna scratch very easily. So search that out.
I never thought about putting flooring on the walls, but makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. All right. All right. Here's your quiz, Heather.
Boy.
This is a fly shop. It's got a wood wall. What product that we just looked at do you think this one is?
Uh, it's not wood flooring, so is it peel and stick? I'm gonna go with peel and stick.
Yes, it is. You're correct. Ding, 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 ding. I mean, the giveaway here is probably the width of the boards.
That's why I didn't go with wood floor. Yeah.
Right. But it's convincing. It's
Mhm.
done well. You know, it doesn't show the corner, but we treated the corner nicely so you don't see the edge, the naked edge of that material that gives away the fact that it's only 1/4 inch thick. So that's a good solution. What do you suppose this is?
Well, my confidence is pretty high right now since I got the last one. So I'm gonna say wood floor.
Yes, good job.
Thank you.
You can also get tongue and groove cedar boards um, that have a different finish than this. You can do that on a wall as well. That can be a really good look. I didn't include that in the options. It's a very specific one. What do you suppose this one is?
Oh, it's so far away. I'm gonna go with peel and stick.
Good job.
Wow.
You've done it. You are batting 1,000.
Brian, I wanted to ask you, so the first photo, everything was horizontal. The last one, different position on the floor. It was vertical, it looked like. So is there a consideration there for retailers?
It has to do with, I don't think there's a right or a wrong solution necessarily.
Okay.
If there were flooring that was also wood or had a pattern to it that met up to this wall,
Mhm.
chances are we wouldn't do the vertical orientation like that because we wouldn't want it to look like the flooring was wrapping up the wall or something.
Gotcha. So
It
based
just depends. Some spaces feel like they need a horizontal statement, and some spaces feel like they need a vertical statement. In this store that we're looking at here, it felt like it made sense to go horizontal because of the horizontal nature of that front wall with the garage doors in it.
All right, perfect.
So no right or wrong answer, but a great question. You get points for a great question.
Thank you.
This, I'm not going to ask you what this is because you can tell what this is. This is real wood that's been, they call that live edge. That's when you can see the edge of the tree.
Mhm.
And this has just been sawn. I mean, it's been cut down into planks from the tree. Great solution. This went behind their cash wrap in that store. It's a very nicely textured, very real, very crunchy, outdoorsy kind of a look. And then this is from the same store. They have kind of a theme going about they were like reclaimed, they like natural wood, that kind of thing. This wall, we looked at this image in a previous podcast. I think it was about lighting. This, from a wall covering perspective, is a great story too, because they actually found 100% of this wood.
Wow. Score.
It's, yeah, it's now that's a pain in the butt to go out and try to source stuff that way because of all the inconsistencies and having to track down that much wood, but they did it. They saved that money, and the effect is really great.
I love it. It
It's an
looks
it's an amazing look for just having found everything. It's a combination of pallet wood and just old boards that were, kind of thrown away places. This is another solution that we did at one of their other stores at Cahaba, where there's some raw wood that was part of the structure of the building and studs up above. So we just ended up building a graphic in between those to dress it up to make it look very intentional. This is actually really cool because if you look at it, if you walked over to this wall and looked at it that way, you would not see the logo because it's kind of behind the little, it's behind the studs. It's really cool. And
very
then this is another great, this is real wood as well. Applied to that. They did a lot of work on this one. It's a tongue and groove kind of a look that's been roughly kind of rough hewn look, and then they put some great sealant and coloring on there that makes everything just play really well. So those are some great wood solutions. This is another thing when it comes to wood that you could think about. These are literally just 2x2 boards that have been installed on a gray wall to create this kind of a look.
I see what you're saying when where we talk about wall coverings in general. They really do. Every one of these retailers you're showing me is like it creates like an impact. It's like it's like wow, here I am. I'm in this store with this culture and brand. It's like a visually relatable. It's
Okay,
interesting.
yeah. So look at this wall in particular. Um, there's a lot of unfinished pictures here because I'm trying to show you the wall covering and not so much how it was merchandised and things. But um, in this case, if they had just painted these two walls here the same color as the adjacent walls, it would be fine. But when they did this wood installation the way that they did and painted the background gray and then put the wood on top of it, it communicates that that store cares deeply about what they're doing, and they care deeply about really setting the stage for their beautiful product. So that tells you a lot about a brand in a very intuitive way. So that's why wall coverings are so worth thinking about a lot.
Which ties it into your beard analogy, right? Like
Right.
I got we're connecting today,
I
Brian.
love that. I love that. Okay, brick. Now, I'm not going to go into real brick because if you have real brick in your store, you have real brick in your store. And chances are, if you don't have real brick, you're not going to build a full-fledged brick wall. But some solutions to take walls that are existing and make them look like brick are out there that are very effective. The most effective is thin brick. Is this what you were kind of thinking of, Heather, when you said peel and stick brick?
Yes, yes.
I don't know of any of them that are peel and stick because it's kind of a heavy material, but it is applied like tile. Like you glue it, stick it up there, and then you put the mortar in between the bricks to make it look like a real brick wall. And it is very convincing if it's done well. like very convincing. And you can do this inside and outside. Um, the walls like this that are done well, you cannot tell that they are not 100% brick wall. Some of the products have a system that's built into their product that helps you to get the spacing perfectly, it's like a metal sheet that you put on the wall that has like slats in it that keep all the bricks in the right place when you glue it. Some come in sheets, and that's really tough to see on here, I'm sure, but it has like that mesh backer on it. So you stick that up, kind of like a lot of tile comes in. You stick that up on the wall, and that helps you with the spacing. And then you just, throw the mortar in between. This is $5 to $13 a square foot for the material itself, which isn't inexpensive. The big thing to think about here is that it's going to take some installation time. This is likely not a DIY thing, although I know many dealers who would take this on in a heartbeat. So you got to think about that. It's going to be a somewhat costly solution for walls, which means you're not going to do a whole store in this. It's part of making the right decision. Maybe there's a great wall by a dressing room, or a great wall that backs up your service area or something like that, that just looks like it needs a special, really crunchy kind of statement. And that's when this can be perfect. Any questions about that one before I move on to faux brick panels?
Oh, maybe the faux brick panels or the sticky ones. I don't know.
There's probably definitely sticky backed faux brick panels. The big takeaway on faux brick panels is you got to beware, and you got to see this product before you buy a bunch of it to put it up in the store, because some panels look great and some look horrible.
Horrible. Like absolutely, like not faking anyone, Brian.
Right. So this is maybe there's a wall that's up high in the store, and it's just kind of setting off a special display, and you never have the customer never gets the opportunity to be nose to nose with that product. That's when this can be good. Even then, some of these some of these faux brick panels are horrible, and they just don't look good. Like some of them, they just come in a 4x8 sheet, and there's no handling of the edges. So there's a seam between the panels that you stuck up there, unless you do some real specific treatment to that seam. There are good solutions, like the one that you see down here. It's possible to put that kind of a panel up, because you can see the way that meshes together and makes it look like continuous brick.
Well, that one's the best seller, Brian. So that's probably
Good eye. You're right. That is a bestseller. Another thing that we should talk about since we're here is you could also apply some inexpensive solutions like this one and then paint it.
ooh.
So it looks like you've got a painted brick wall, which is much more forgiving and more convincing as brick than when you're trying to show the brick color itself. And that can be just a cool look anyway. Right?
I agree. Ooh.
Brick wallpaper. You'd think that I'd be really down on it because of what I just said about the non-convincing nature of those panels. But some of the wallpapers are actually, I think, more convincing to look like real brick than the faux panels. Now, it's just wallpaper, so it's not actually thick, but they do a great job of making them look dimensional. I still wouldn't do it in a location where the customer is going to be nose to nose with the product, like if they're going to be standing right by that wall. But it can be definitely an inexpensive way to add that texture if there is a place where you're not going to be nose to nose with it.
Some of
And
them look very real. Yeah. Some of
yeah,
those
they look great. Like we've done them in a few stores, and I've been very excited about the results. But make sure you look. Don't buy, 100 square feet of this stuff before you see some, and make sure that it you've given it the sniff test and make sure that it actually looks as good as you think it is going to look. Okay, this is what?
You were gonna ask me that. Okay. Um,
Well, the picture's not fantastic, so
maybe the thin brick that requires a little bit of like
yep,
tile. Yeah?
yep. You're doing so good. You're doing so good. Yeah, this is the thin brick stuff with the extra time and attention. Now, interestingly enough, this is the same wall
Oh,
with the bad panel on it.
bad panel. Yeah.
Good, bad.
Is that Nina's store? Ah, sorry. Protection program.
What happened to the retailer protection program? I can't believe you just outed her. So yeah, when we planned the store, they really wanted brick. Like that was near and dear to their heart. They wanted brick in the space somewhere. So we planned a few locations where brick made sense. And then thinking that they had a great solution with the faux brick panels because it was inexpensive, easy to pull off, they went out and implemented this wall and then took a step back and were like,
Oh no. Yeah.
um, it doesn't do what we hoped. So that's why I'm saying look at these materials really closely before you start to install, before you buy a bunch of it, because it can make a huge difference. This is so much better, and the picture doesn't do it justice really, but that wall looks fantastic, and that wall says shortcut,
100%.
All right, graphics and murals as a wall covering. There's lots of different ways to go here, like silicone edge graphics that we've talked about before. That's this thing down here in the corner. It's a big fabric image that is stuck into that frame with a little silicone edge, which makes it replaceable. You can do printed vinyl and apply that to a wall. You can hand paint like this example is here. There are wallpapers that are actually murals, like they have, pictures or designs, things like that, that are applied and are actually a mural. So this is definitely a great way to go. Can add a ton of character to a space. One caution though is if you're thinking, whenever I hear a store mention the word mural, I
Mhm.
kind of cringe because we've all seen terrible murals, and it's almost like if you have a friend who wants to do a mural in the store, just tell them no. Because it's gonna if your friend does the mural and you don't like it, it's gonna be really hard to tell them you don't like the mural on your wall because it's gonna be expensive and they just put a bunch of their own time into that thing. So be very careful with a hand painted mural. The more experienced people, the better. Just look for some great examples and watch that carefully. This is a great graphic that we just installed a few weeks ago. Um, that mountain graphic is one of these SEG graphics, and there's ways that you can actually mount things like fixtures or the sign in this case to the face of those types of graphics. So this graphic is actually changeable. It would be kind of a pain in the butt because of the number of things that we'd have to uninstall and put back up, but you could replace that. And it works great. And it's going to last for a long, long time without any peeling or other problems that can happen with vinyl. And then this is a little bit closer. Those are the fixtures on top of that graphic. And it just creates a great backdrop for the product. This is a vinyl applied to a wall. So, we're talking branding and what the wall covering makes a statement or how that makes a statement with your brand. This is a very literal way to look at it here. Good Turn, the logo is featured in a repeating pattern in the background. It's got their mission statement there. Very nice way to color that store. The bright green is part of their brand. Uh, it's a really great feature in the store. It sets off the product nicely. It's just a great way to go. This is a mural, hand painted, hand drawn mural on a wall. And this is not quite done as they took the picture here, but it showed the graphic really nicely. So I wanted to show it here. Those are the local mountains around that shop, which is really, really cool. And they did a great job of selecting an artist who had lots of experience in doing what he needed to do there. So the outcome was spectacular.
That's really pretty. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, and it's a conversation piece because people are going to sit down and have a beer or a drink there and talk about, and they'll actually look at that map and say, yeah, I was over there. This is another unfinished one. This is a shop that just did a big image on the back wall. If you looked at it today, there would be a service station there with people working on the bikes in view of the customer. This arrow pattern is definitely part of their brand. So you can see, like, if you opened up their brand book, this looks like a page from inside their brand book. And that's what I mean by the wall coverings can express your brand. This is very, very literal. And it's a great, great look.
Yeah.
I just tossed this in because I stumbled across it. You don't necessarily have to create one big contiguous graphic to have a graphic looking wall. You could do a collage kind of a thing. This is kind of like a mural in terms of its riskiness, because it could come off poorly and not look good, but it could also play really nicely. I don't know. Maybe you have a wall where you want to feature pictures of customers or races or environments that you could ride around town. That could be a cool solution as a wall covering. You'd want to be careful with this kind of thing and not put product over the top of it because it's too confusing visually.
Wallpaper.
Any questions as we move into wallpaper, ma'am?
No, I think this is really amazing. I had no idea. See, I was just thinking paint, but you're right. There's lots of options. So let's learn more about wallpaper.
All right. Wallpaper is awesome because it can be such a dramatic, it can offer such a dramatic change to a space with relatively low cost. Wallpaper hangers, the people that actually do the wallpaper hanging, they're strangely hard to find. Usually the cities that we've tried to find them in, there's only a few people that do it and they're always booked up. So plan lots of time because you're probably going to end up waiting. So that's a very important consideration. If you have a strict opening schedule and it's 2 weeks away, wallpaper may not be your thing unless you can install it yourself, which is not impossible, but also risky. Your walls also have to cooperate with you. Like if you have bumpy walls or if you have walls with lots of features in it or conduits or, just challenges, wallpaper can be a tough one. There's lots of great places to look online. I've just listed a few here. This raw pixel one is, I can't say that I've used raw pixel, but the product looks great. They have all kinds of really creative solutions. Love that. And I put in the pricing guide here. I doubt people are going to use much velvet flocked wallpaper in a bike shop, but you never know. Maybe in a dressing room, maybe that might work.
Yeah.
Could be. Another thing about wallpaper, about cleanability, is obviously like you wouldn't pick let's say a velvet flocked wallpaper and put it in your service area because the next day after you install it, someone's going to be blowing up a tire, and the tire's going to explode and shoot goo all over the place, and you won't be able to clean it. So, you got to think about that. But some wallpapers are very, very cleanable. So just think about that as a consideration. This is one of the best examples that I could think that we should be shooting for in terms of wallpaper. I just really love that.
It's it hides the bed well.
That's what we're looking for. It really makes a statement about the bedroom's brand. Okay, so this is wallpaper, the gray stuff back here in a store that we did. And why we did it there, we could do paint on that wall, but we decided that we would do the rest of the store in paint and set and make this wall feel special by putting wallpaper up. Such a nice neutral color, but when you get nose to nose, and I wish I had a better picture of it, but when you get nose to nose with the product, you can see the wallpaper back there, and it offers this really great texture. And it just kind of sets the product off super nicely. So it's a real attractive, it doesn't have to be a loud color, it doesn't have to be a big pattern. It can be something very subtle, and sometimes that's the best possible solution. That subtle detail is an expression of this store's brand. It says we care about the details a lot, even down to things like that. Does that make sense?
I'm totally resonating with that. It does. It definitely is like, it means you're attentive to details and you care, for sure.
This is another shop that's outside the bike world, and just kind of creating a outdoorsy-ish kind of a feel. Putting the tree patterned wallpaper back there.
That is cool.
Yeah, I wish I had more pictures of that area. This, I don't know how flattering this is, but it really came off nicely. It sets the product off nicely, creates a really warm environment. There's other types of wallpaper, like there's the mural kinds that have big pictures and things like that, but there's also stuff like this that just simply add a really great appearance of a texture to the space. And I know stores that this kind of a thing would be appropriate in. It's not for everybody, but things like that, the wallpaper is a great way to pull that off. You don't have to, you don't have to get someone to faux paint that kind of a thing, or you don't have to build a concrete wall. You could do it that way. How about if we move on to cork?
All right.
Have you seen cork in a store before?
Um, Maybe in a wine store.
Maybe. Oh, nicely done. I bet it is in wine stores a lot. Cork is a great material. It just comes off as a very natural, it's of the earth. It just feels like it feels appropriate for outdoorsy kind of sports. It's also usually very, very durable. It has some acoustic benefits, which is something that we didn't talk about. Some of the wall coverings that we could pick have acoustic benefits, like they absorb sound. Cork is one of those. Not every cork is the same in that respect, but we're going to talk about felt here in a second. That's a really great one for absorbing sound. Some of those graphics that we're looking at can be sound absorbing. Some types of wallpaper can be sound absorbing. There's thin carpets for the wall that look kind of like felt or like a material. Those can be sound absorbing, and that can be super helpful in the whole scheme of things inside the store. Cork either comes in tiles or rolls. Probably if you're putting it on a wall, you're going to use the tiles. They're really easy to stick up. They're lightweight. You just glue them on, and it's very DIY if you want to do it yourself. My favorite that I've used the most is this Amcork place to get that, but there's lots of different places if you just search it up. This is a shop in Utah that we did a cork wall.
That looks fabulous.
Right? Um, The graphics that you see are some of those silicone edge graphics too. So this is a good example of that as well. But that cork just kind of sets everything off. Look how warm the space feels, and it just feels, crunchy and beautiful and outdoorsy all at the same time.
Ryan, you do some great work.
I know, that's what I'm trying to tell you. No, thank you. Thank you. That's what I mean. I mean, thank you. I did not do this thing that we're looking at here. I just came across it. Like, if you look for options, you can find funky things. Like, these are cork kind of little shingles. Like, they make all kinds of different shapes, and you could do this kind of a thing. Not for everybody, but it's pretty cool if you have a store that needs that kind of a look. How about some metal? What do you say, Heather?
All right, I like it.
Metal's been used a lot in bike shops, in any retail for that matter. It's because it's metal, usually pretty darn durable. Can be stylish if that is the statement that you're trying to make as a brand. And it's usually magnetic. It's not always magnetic, because sometimes you could have aluminum or something else, but usually magnetic. And having a magnetic wall can be a cool thing, because you could stick signs to it or even products to the wall.
Pretty cool.
The cost can be very cost effective, $1.50 to $10 a square foot, depending on what the heck you get. This Dakota Tin place is a cool place to go. And they make the actual product that you're looking at here that's behind that TV. And they make a lot of different kinds of kind of corrugated steel looking walls or tiles that come in varying degrees of rustiness. Like, they actually rust this stuff themselves. So it can give you a very, a very lived in kind of a look. This wall back here is a steel wall.
Oh, it's hard to tell, but I see it now.
Right? Can be really beautiful, like just plain steel. And sometimes well, I think all the time you'd probably want to clear coat it with, if nothing else, it could just be clear spray paint, but you want to clear coat it so it doesn't rust. Or if you want the rust, if that's part of the look you're looking for, then that can be really, really cool as well. But this is just like 16 gauge steel that's in sheets that's been cut and applied to the wall, and then they put angle iron around the outside. Really pretty and completely bomb proof. And then this is an example of stuff that isn't rusty, but it's the corrugated steel on the sides there. That's a look that's not for everybody.
Mhm.
But it is an option. Tile. I'm not going to say much about tile. There's lots. I mean, we all know what tile is and what it looks like, and there's a million different kinds. Can be very durable, can get expensive depending on the one you pick and the installation that's necessary for that particular kind of tile.
That's pretty though. It looks
Right.
nice. Looks
Right. In a situation like that, or like this one,
Oh, I know that store.
uh-huh. In that kind of a situation where it's just so cleanable, and this is a high traffic area, if you have that tube explode, the tire explode, or you accidentally shoot cleaner or lube on the wall, you can just wipe it off. It's also super durable. You're not going to bonk a bike into it and break it off usually. And it's a nice contrast too. Like, we've got this great big painted wall that's a nice flat color, and then we've got this great shiny hard surface back there. So the contrast between those two things is a really nice play. All those things communicate more details that they paid attention to. We're almost done here. We've got some other stuff to look at. Felt. There's a lot of different solutions out there. I think it gets implemented too rarely inside stores because I love the acoustic benefits of it. I think it's very natural feeling and warm, and I'd love to see places use it more. You can have it cut into patterns like we're looking at here. You can apply it just as sheets. I think it's a really great solution. You can stick tacks in it, which is another thing. Hey, look at this.
Mm,
Here is a little turf on the wall.
I like it.
Our buddies at Newspin. Obviously, that's not a look for everybody, but this is definitely his brand.
Mhm.
He's got two stores and they both have turf walls in them, and the green color is very central. Their trucks are green and white, and the turf wall, it's just, he wants you to feel like they are all about the outside. How's that?
Questions. Thanks.
Like I said, I feel bad because there's so many things that I left out, but this is the tip of the iceberg conversation. Hopefully that gets the ball rolling for people. And if you have any questions at all, give me a shout. You can write to me at brian@fixturelab.com. You can send in questions to design@nbda.com.
I had no idea, Brian. Like I knew that this was going to be like I knew if I said wall coverings that we were going to go deep, but I didn't know that we were going to get all these great images, such a deep dive into different costs, how you can deploy these different wall fixtures, what it does as far as creating a sense of brand and community. So I'm jazzed. I hope our listeners are like ready to get after this and take a look, go back into their stores, look at their walls. Now, Brian, you as a resource, let's say someone's like, I got a lot out of this. I think I should do this. And then before we get to that, like put up fake brick that doesn't really look good, could they call you and ask some questions and maybe, yeah, how does
Of
that work?
course.
All
I'm
right.
I'm so happy to offer help like that. Like if I can steer you down the right path or help you save some money by not making a mistake, I'm all about that.
So
So absolutely.
Brian at fixturelab.com, right? That's direct to you.
Bingo. Right to me.
Awesome. Brian, thank you so much for everything you do, for coming on the podcast and sharing your expertise, for offering NBDA members a special opportunity to work with you and save a little money too, because we're trying to find big impacts for our business, things we can do that really get people's attention, keep them coming back. And we're also trying to save money. So I appreciate that offer you put out there for NBDA members and people. Go ahead, Brian at fixturelab.com. Blow up the inbox, right?
Blow it up.
Get
Blow
Brian,
it up.
get Brian out of the flowers. um, thanks again, though. Any questions that you want us to answer, design@nbda.com. We'll go ahead and we'll answer them here on the Flex. Hopefully, this has got your wheels turning.
Let's do this.
Let's
Let's make these stores freaking amazing and impress the customers and make zillions of dollars.
zillions,
Right?
billions of dollars, zillions of dollars.
Right.
So take a look at your shop. If you're walking into your door and you're not impressed with what you see, it's probably time for a change. And there's little things you can do. And Brian and I are here to support you. All right.
Amen.
Thanks for listening.
Woo! Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right, go now. Have a great afternoon. Brian, thanks so much. Thanks, listeners.
Thank you for listening to Bicycle Retail Radio. This podcast is designed specifically for the bicycle industry, dedicated to strengthening our retailers and cycling community. If it is your first episode, we urge you to take the time and listen to our past episodes.
The NBDA values the importance of deep interpersonal connections, and our Retailer Summit is designed to be a catalyst for just that. Attending the Retailer Summit in May ensures you meet the right people who know the bicycle industry, respect your business, and want to help you grow, both personally and professionally. It's an easy way to take your business to the next level through networking, engaging with panelists and speakers, problem solving with your fellow attendees, followed by ample riding time on world-class trails. Go to nbda.com/retailer summit for more information and to get your tickets today.